Hi, everyone. So over here today, I have Nadia from Russia. She is going to be offering a few different workshops this coming week. And I would just like to take this opportunity to introduce her to all of you because I think she has a lot of skills that could be useful for many of you. We originally wanted to do this as a live streamed interview, but for some reason, it's king. So we decided to record this and upload it separately. So Nadia, why not we start with you telling us a bit more about yourself, what you do, and why you choose to do this work.
Yeah, so my name is Nadia and I'm currently in Moscow, and I would say that I'm an explorer, a very curious explorer and hungry for more. And I've dedicated my life to see how Eastern and Western approaches to the human being can fuse and combine and do the Tao, yin yang sign. And I've been practicing for 9 years, and I've been studying for 12 years, constantly making, like, acquiring new skills and really like mastering, really, because working with people is like an art. It's an art form, even though it has lots of logic. We're such incredible beings that, yeah. As for the shadow work, it's one of the most difficult things to really see what we don't want to see, and there needs to be so much safety and so much grounding and so much acceptance available to be able to do this work. So yeah, this is where I'm coming from for metamorphosis. And I'm very curious to meet all of you and to explore with you and to integrate and feel more whole and play at the same time, not make it too serious. And I've used methods that I see will be really effective and deep, and at the same time light and resourceful.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction. So just to give an idea, when Nadia first came to me, she was like, she had made an application, and then she said, I'm gonna submit 6 more workshops on someday. And I was like, oh, cool, amazing. And then she ended up submitting 8, and I was like, whoa. And so there's a lot of enthusiasm, and there's a lot of also variety even. So it's like different approaches to achieve essentially not say the same results, but it does all aim at more connection to self and more awareness of self and more understanding of self. Her upcoming workshop that's happening tomorrow is called Arrogance is My Shadow. And to give sort of overview, some of the other workshops that she has for coming up are about de-triggering anger, about authentic relating, being critic, ideal parents, meeting the shadow, and authentic movement. So you can see there's like a wide variety of things, which is why I wanted her to be able to share a little bit about this and for you to meet her. Yeah, Nadia, why don't you tell us a bit about the one that's happening tomorrow, Arrogance is My Shadow?
Yeah, I feel for me and for many of us, confidence can be perceived as arrogance sometimes. Sometimes it is arrogance, but arrogance is kind of like a step to whole confidence, holistic confidence. And when we're clumsy in our confidence, we can think of ourselves as arrogant. And in these times, feeling confident is so incredibly needed, and at the same time can be shamed, because yeah, how can you be confident in this uncertainty, and how you can be positive, and how can you be like assertive in a healthy way? So we would be looking at it in pairs, and at the same time we will do a specific method which is based on body-oriented psychotherapy and lifespan integration method, where we will see the root of this not accepting the confidence in our childhood, and we're gonna connect to that part of ours and heal it and connect to the qualities that that part of ours have, and to let that quality, that part of us, to transmit these qualities that could probably have been stuck there and not been able to really grow and evolve because of some traumatic event. We're gonna integrate these qualities into our life, and it, on the neurological level, it will help us in this right here, right now, to embody these qualities. And I'm gonna give also a little exercise that you're gonna need, which will be like tailored specifically for you, which you're gonna be doing for like 5 minutes, couple of times a day, and it will help you to embody this experience and this state of being.
So would you say that this workshop is geared towards those who have like a complex relationship with appearing confident because they don't want to be perceived as arrogant? Is that something you would like, how you would put it?
Yeah, exactly. And for people who like maybe perceive many people as arrogant as well. Yeah.
Okay. So people who get triggered when they see someone being arrogant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that what you mean? Like, yeah, I find it's fascinating, especially since the pandemic started. There has been a higher volume of social media interactions, not always in the best ways. There's a lot of judgments and a lot of people getting triggered by what somebody says or posts and things like that. And I often find that, you know, when you're very judgmental towards a person being a certain way, sometimes it's because you're secretly envious that they can be that way, you know, like somehow you're like irritated by this person being that way, because somehow deep down you're like, you're wishing you can be more like that, but then you don't dare to, or something like that. So I don't know if that made sense. Somehow, like when people get upset that someone seems so arrogant, they're actually secretly envious that they don't mind appearing arrogant or something, whereas maybe they are too scared to actually be perceived that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, and also that they could, you know, be scared to really take care of their needs and their wants, and really have healthy boundaries about that, and communicated it, and projected as kind of how a person is too full of themselves. Sometimes we are full of ourselves, and yeah, sometimes we are being really arrogant and egotistical and self-centered. That's also true. Yeah, but mainly, and what also I want to make like a little trajectory to the workshop that we're having on Sunday about the shadow. It will be a process based on the process work by Arnold Mindell. He's really fascinating guy, like quantum physics, who became a Jungian analyst and then traveled the world to learn from tribes, and then combined all of it into a psychotherapeutic method. So we're going to be doing some of this work, and I had a really like that experience, that exercise that we're going to be doing in pairs I've had a really interesting experience there, because sometimes our psyche somehow projects something on another person we can't even really know what it is about. For example, one time I just didn't like one girl. I don't know why. I felt disgusted seeing her. Not that she acted in a certain way, it just was so illogical and unconscious. And when I worked with that sensation and feeling, I connected to such a huge, raw, and at the same time grounded and integrated female power. Not that that girl was actually presenting the female power. I would never think that, and she wasn't actually like presenting it, but somehow through that emotion, my subconscious was trying me to connect, and I wasn't connected to my female qualities at all at that time, which was like 10 years ago. And yeah, it was quite a nice and profound and unexpected experience. And yeah, as the same thing, I'm gonna link it to Ideal Parents Workshop, which we're having on Saturday, that also all these workshops, they help to qualities that you really need in your life, and you probably don't even understand which qualities you need in your life, or you do understand but you don't know how to access them. These workshops that I've developed are kind of connecting those methods, because I use them in individual work, and also I could transfer it into the workshop. So they connect you, they help your psyche to kind of show you and give you and help you to embody the exact qualities and answers that you need in your life, even if I, for example, as a therapist, don't really know that, don't really see that you need them, and you could not see that you need them. Yeah, so that works really in a fascinating way. Yeah.
Yeah, relate because there was a, you know, like I think when I was in high school, there was a girl that felt like I don't feel like being friends with this person. Not I hate her. There was no hatred. It was just a sense of like, I don't need this person in my life. And I never really understood why, because I didn't know her at all, you know. But yeah, even until now, I would say I still don't know her at all. But back then, there was an immediate energetic repulsion. Like, yeah, I don't think I like to be around this person. And I can't explain why. But it could be interesting to delve into things like that, maybe, if it becomes important, you know, like maybe it's trying to show me something, like what you just described with this reaction to a person 10 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, it
So
still happens, and I still use that process to see what am what the whole is trying to tell me for my own good and development. Yeah.
yeah. I told Nadia that her workshop on de-triggering anger, I think, is something that a lot of us need these days, especially in parts of the world where there's a huge amount of political division. Particularly, I see it a lot in the US. You know, a lot of fighting between friends and families because of ideological differences, political beliefs, and things like that, and how, yeah, anger is such a for me, it is not a sort of an issue. Like I don't really align a lot with anger. Like that's not an emotion that I feel a lot. I get upset, but I don't get angry. Which is kind of interesting when I witness people being angry, or when people have a lot of anger. It's fascinating for me because I don't experience that. And sometimes I even find that people who are angry seem very cute. I don't know if you've ever experienced this before. But yeah, it was
Before or during? Before the anger or during being angry?
during the anger.
Yeah.
And then I will be like, okay, I have to hold back. Like, I can't possibly laugh at them for being angry because they will get so upset. Um, but yeah, there are times when, you know, when people are angry, they release this energy, and it kind of compels you to feel the same, you know, if you're empathetic. But what tends to happen for me is I just you know, because I don't tend to align with that energy very much. What often happens when people are showing to me anger, they just deflate because it has nowhere to go. And then sometimes this makes them more angry because they want to be angry and they cannot be. I don't know if I'm making sense. Like the anger is not getting a response in anger back. So it's like it has nowhere to go. Suddenly it's like all weird. And then it sometimes deflates the anger, and sometimes it makes it worse. Or worse in the sense that they say more hurtful things because they are like somehow not understanding why you are not angry at them. Like they expect you to be angry, but you're not getting angry. So they're like, yeah. But I told Nadia how this workshop can be so valuable to people, especially at this time. And I don't know if I don't know if maybe you want to talk a little bit about that topic as well, because that comes like right after the workshop on arrogance. And it's as though on one of them you touch on arrogance being a shadow, and the other one is anger being a shadow or something.
Yeah, we're gonna be we won't be touching all the complexity that you actually showed us right now. Yeah, how it can be really different relationship with anger. But we're gonna do similar work to the one that we're gonna do in arrogance and confidence workshop, where we're gonna first see what like anger makes us feel. Sometimes it's a cover for some other emotions. Sometimes it's our fear to be angry, fear to be rejected, or fear to like to have boundaries. And if we don't have ability to feel anger without being triggered, like in a small portions, because in this really small portions, it's kind of like assertiveness, like a healthy feeling of I have these boundaries and I'm safe in them, and I can have some poise, you know, not being like so yeah. And we're gonna see where in our past maybe I was hurt by anger. Was it so unsafe to me that now I'm not connecting to it? Because also connecting to anger can be really vitalizing. So many people who feel apathetic or sleepy all the time, it can be of course because of long-term stress, but also can be because of suppressed grief, and it also can be because of the suppressed anger. So yeah, we're gonna find that moment and heal that wounded part and help the qualities to be released and to embody them and to feel more whole with ourselves.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to having people experience that particular offering. And then just to briefly touch on the next few ones, you have authentic relating, which to my understanding is like a circle, a kind of circle where people can share. Is that what it's like?
Yeah, it's a circling practice, and there are two kinds of way, like United States kind of school and European kind of school on that. And basically what we do, we just come and be there as authentic as possible, and it helps to really, like, we are allowing all kind of energies. So um, there I'm allowed to express my anger that it's difficult to express for me, or to express my doubts, or to express mm, some of my griefs, or some of my projections that I have on, like, on certain gender, or on certain situation, and to really feel what arises in me when I hear others, when others hear me and reflect that to me. And it creates such a beautiful connection, and such a beautiful healing experience takes place. It's really hard to hard to put in words when you haven't experienced it. But yeah, that's all I can muster.
Yeah, like a safe space for vulnerability and authenticity, which I think unfortunately doesn't exist in all places. I've been nomadic for 5 years, and I've experienced firsthand how some cultures give more of that space for people to be vulnerable, and others are not as much. There is a lot more putting on a character because they feel they need to put on this character in order to be sort of accepted in the culture. So there's like a lot of false positivity, or you know, these kinds of things, which become very noticeable when you have experienced real authenticity. You notice that they're play acting, and then it just becomes like uh you know, like, I don't know if I can connect authentically with this person, because it doesn't seem that the person I am seeing is what is inside. You see the divide, you know. And once you've experienced authentic real connection, you suddenly find yourself not so interested in the ones that are less so, because it feels like a waste of time, you know. I don't know if you get this as well, because in your work, like, you feel having done this, you know how it feels like, and then the connections where the authenticity does not happen just feels like lackluster, uh, not so attractive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's so curious to see, like, even though I'm as authentic as I can muster, but at this circle, it's so easy to see where I'm still like somewhere maybe lying to myself, or somewhere like making some parts prettier than they actually are. And it also, so much beauty is happening when men also join, because like emotions and expressing sometimes, like, it's not so like, it's kind of like a gender role issue can be for men, that they can feel that they're not welcome, or it's not their thing. But it is, and it's such a beauty that it helps to shatter all those projections of male and female and stuff like that. Yeah.
Definitely what you said about the gender roles. I think men a lot of just, like the whole patriarchal setup that has been suppressing the feminine has hurt both men and women, I think, in different ways. And the men have as many wounds to deal with as the women, just different. um, so I do hope that I'm seeing more and more awakened men out there, more and more, and it's really encouraging to see that they are holding spaces for men and encouraging emotional vulnerability in men. And I hope to see that this becomes an increasing trend. Yeah, okay, so then we just have a few more. We have befriending inner critic. I think that's something many of us can immediately understand, like what it's about, just from the title. But I will let Nadia speak a little bit about that, maybe.
Yeah, it's really fun process, because you get to uh, talk to your inner critic, and you get to really understand it, and see the vital role that is playing in you, and really stop draining yourself by this opposition towards it, and like monologue of it, and trying to that it's trying to make you be this way, and you trying to not let it be this way, or you're saying yes shit, I'm again not like that, not that way. And actually, when we meet with with this part, there can be different critics for different situations, like, for example, for making mistakes, or for like being out there and presenting oneself, or for being in a relationship, or with like accepting our emotions, or being in a certain way at work and getting things done, it plays a huge role in procrastination. So yeah, when we get to meet it and make this first step, because there are few steps of actually clearing that inner dynamic. But the first step is so also powerful when we understand the beauty that it brings, and we really become better partners, even though we don't trust it fully yet, and it might not trust us fully, but we start this the how do you say, uh trying to how did you say,
Like forming a relationship with the inner critic, or?
yeah, not just any relationship, but yeah, that we're on the same side actually.
Yeah, I think that I come from an Asian culture. I grew up in Singapore, which is a very, very academically competitive culture. A lot of competition and a lot of work hard, work hard, work hard, and everything. There's like youth, you know, the young people over there are under a lot of pressure to perform. And there are also definitely have problems with youth depression and suicide because of these problems, you know, and I think this exists in a lot of the more developed parts of Asia, like Japan and Korea and also Singapore. So I think we kind of grew up with that sort of inner critic as developed from the critics around us, the teachers, the parents, the other friends, you know. So it creates this whole environment to manifest an inner critic. It becomes kind of second nature. You don't realize it's there, and it's always there. So I find that this could be really beneficial to a lot of people who have been exposed to these kinds of environments, to sort of forge a relationship with that part of themselves that's the inner critic. And I'm hopeful that it will reach the ones who need it, you know, and so that we become much more constructive with it, or that it becomes a much more constructive experience rather than something that brings you down, and maybe how to utilize this inner critic in a positive way. I don't know if that kind of targets your intention with the workshop.
Yeah, it can actually be transformed into a helper, into the one who cheers you and not tries to undermine you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then so then we have Ideal Parents happening on Saturday. And I think I will let you just describe a little bit about that. I have some idea of what it is, but I think for people it could be nice to sort of hear from you directly what it's about. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I already touched on it a little bit, that this method helps to connect with the resources that your subconscious, your psyche has for the actual situation in your life that you're facing right now. And maybe you're not aware of those qualities, or maybe you are, but your psyche will help you to bring them up and embody it. And it is based on connecting to parental archetypes. And I have a little video recording that I made for this workshop that you're going to be able to see in the workshop description and get to know more about that.
Yeah, perfect. And I think you touched a bit on meeting the shadow earlier, which is happening on Sunday. And the only one that maybe you haven't touched on is authentic movement.
Authentic movement is a really, it's kind of a slow down space. It helps to connect, like all my stuff is really about connecting a lot to the body, because lots of kind of our psyche is body helps to experience our psyche and our subconscious and our resources with the help of the body, and to integrate new qualities as well and live them in our day-to-day life. But this is kind of like a more like the most how to say, maybe creative or open space, because there will be the least amount of steps, guided steps that will be there for me or for working in pairs. And it helps to really like in each of the workshops, you really meet yourself and really meet your different parts. But in authentic movements, it happens in its own unique way. And you also get to be witnessed and to feel how it is to be really present with another one, and to receive that witnessing without any judgment, just with pure positivity, without even trying to help you or do something better, just celebrating who you are. Yeah, and you in that space, you connect in the movement with your eyes closed, without any movement or music, or without any guidance. You just connect to your inner impulses. It's like vipassana, but when you are allowed to move and follow your impulses, and you can get some insights, or you can just release some emotions, or you can uh, just be with yourself and nourish your body and your psyche with the slowing down. Yeah, there are many, many positive effects of that, including connecting more and integrating more of your subconscious material.
Yeah. So as you can see, Nadia has a lot of different things to offer. She basically has at least one workshop happening every day for this week, starting tomorrow. So we have already released the details for Arrogance is My Shadow. The other ones will be coming up very shortly. And you can register for the ones that you feel are relevant to you. Her workshops are ticketed because she's offering you really professional guidance from years of experience. And the minimum for each is about 11 Singapore dollars. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's the amount for minimum contribution. And you get 2 to 2.5 hours of material. So that I think is very worth it. But if you really need help, if you're really in financial difficulty, write to Nadia. Her email is listed in all the event descriptions, and she will see what she can do. We do want this to be accessible to those who need it, but we also want to be fair for the content itself and what it's worth and its value. So yeah, if you have any questions, also feel free to write to her even before the workshop. If you want to know more, talk to her briefly before this interview about conducting workshops in English and Russian, and she is quite amenable to this idea. So for those of you who are Russian speaking, this could be maybe a very attractive offer to have this material also available in Russian. Yeah, I think that's about it. Do you have anything else you want to add, Nadia, before we end?
Yeah, I remember that we had an idea of maybe having some of the workshops that can be recorded, just my guidance without the interaction of the participants, that we also can release it at a lower price maybe. And yeah, if you're interested in that, please let us know so it can happen.
Yeah, so I look forward to having you guys check out her work and to see you at the workshops so that it might help you, hopefully. Thank you, Nadia, for this time and for offering so many different workshops in such a late notice. But yeah, I appreciate the enthusiasm and passion I think. And I'm hopeful that if this works out great, it can also continue beyond this week, and that more workshops can be done for people, whether it's similar to the ones you're offering this week or totally different.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Valencia, because I can't imagine the amount of work you are doing to make it all happen. So yeah, you should, like, I want to give you this tribute. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, my work wouldn't happen without you guys. So, you know, it's all, I think of it as, you know, we all have gifts, and we all have the, you know, responsibility, or I don't know if responsibility is the right word, but gifts are meant to be given, I think. So I happen to have this gift of organizing and scheduling and doing all these things that I'm doing. So I'm using those to help make your platform happen. But also my gift wouldn't have been useful if nobody is there to receive it. So you're allowing this gift to be received, and I'm helping your gift to be received by those who need it. And so it's just the whole abundant model that I think is what hopefully we are leading towards, that we all just operate based on this idea of gifting instead of necessarily transactional. Like, I only give you this if you give me that. Just like, I'm gonna give this to you, and if the gift comes back from you, great. If the gift returns in another way, great. I believe it always comes back. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's so amazing that you touched on these gifts, that one of my teachers says that who are we to hold off our gifts to the world? Yeah.
Yes. I like that. It's like more like a, it sounds more like a warrior sentiment than I think what I just described, you know. And I think what you talked about with anger earlier, yeah, I've seen so many healthy expressions of anger, in a way, like the warrior archetypes. They express anger in this really strong but also beautiful way. So it's not like a bad thing. It's, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you also for sharing, and I will be posting this as soon as possible, so that people can access it. And yeah, thank you, and thank you for those who are watching, and hope to see you in the workshops. I'll probably post links to the workshop registrations as comments to this post as well, so that it's easy to find. Yeah, okay, so have a nice evening.
Yeah.
And see you tomorrow. Yeah.
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 Bye.
Bye.